Good morning and welcome into the Party Pregame show. We're excited you joined us here on this week 2 of the college football season. We have a big show in store today. We have our big Saturday slate, Bingham's bets, our Patrick Party picks, and so much more as we get ready to preview week 2 of the college football season. We have some great non-conference matchups. A lot of the, home and home matchups versus the neutral sites that typically take place on week 1. And then we also we'll preview the Auburn game for a good amount. And then we're also going to remember 9/11. Today is the 20th anniversary of that. So, welcome in. This is game day, and we're excited you're here with us here on the Patrick Party Pregame show. Well, what a weekend it was in college football. We'll kind of review the week within the sport, and then we'll go from there. So, this past weekend, big games. Georgia beat Clemson. UCLA ran all over LSU. It was kind of shocking to see how much more physical UCLA was than LSU. I mean, you wouldn't have guessed that the big SEC LSU's offensive line and defensive line would just get manhandled by UCLA. But hey, props to Chip Kelly's team. So that wasn't necessarily a surprise of an upset. People were picking it, but it was more how it happened, and it wasn't fluky. I mean, they just straight up beat them. And then we didn't really have many midweek games as the NFL kind of started and had a big game on Thursday to kick off the season, which was a great one between the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. And now we're back to Saturday. College football is here. There's a great slate of games. We're about to go through all of those with you. Well, we wanted to go ahead and start the show, as you probably know. Many of the events of 9/11 are 20 years ago, taking place like within the hour that we'll actually be live. We're not going to go through them live on the air, but I did want to talk about how some of the teams around the country are kind of, remembering, the phrase is always never forget. We have to remember this so it doesn't happen again kind of stuff. And there's a lot of remembrance and things that have gone around last week for teams that don't have a home game this week, and then a lot of teams are wearing special uniforms. So I thought we would just show that off. Really quick, you have Ole Miss. They're going to be painting their field. Texas A&M also did this too. You'll see it in a video. With the American flag kind of through their logo. They'll have that on their helmets as well. Florida also wearing they're wearing all white and a special helmet with an American flag on it, kind of in that Gators decal. Then you also have Texas A&M. They had their red, white, and blue game last week, which is pretty cool. They also did this. They've done this the other anniversaries of 9/11 as well. So that's pretty cool with their stadium. Just from my experience of going to Texas A&M, it's a very patriotic atmosphere, so I'm sure it makes sense that they would go to such a great effort to remember 9/11. And then Auburn, that's the majority of my audience that watches Auburn, likes Auburn. Auburn will have a special presentation at the game today, since Auburn is hosting a home game on 9/11. They've also painted special ribbons on the field for the game. And Auburn's JROTC program will also be helping to be a part of the presentation of the 9/11 tribute. So, yes, that is really all of the big 9/11 things going around the country. I'm sure lots of other teams are also doing special tributes as well prior to their games beginning. So, yes, that's just kind of a extra layer on this week, kind of a thing. I mean, think about it. I was born in 2003. I'm 18, so there's like freshmen on these college football teams that weren't, honestly, anyone on this college football rosters, really, unless they had some crazy experience, don't really likely remember 9/11 because they were at the oldest like 4 or 3. And I mean, I don't remember anything from that age. Maybe they do. And so, I mean, that's just kind of interesting. I'd be interested to see if teams spent the time to really try to, or at least coaches, kind of educate players on that, simply because they weren't alive. So, I mean, like, you don't have a firsthand experience. It's not something that you remember because you weren't there for it. So just something interesting to think about. But we're going to move along with our show today. I just thought it was important to do that on the 20th anniversary. So we go ahead and kick off our Saturday slates. As we go through, we have a lot of great matchups today. As I kind of said in the open, a lot of the neutral site games, like the one in Texas or the one in Atlanta, are always kind of played on week 1. And then week 2 is kind of more traditionally. I mean, you can have it on week 1 and some back and forth. But definitely you can more traditionally, you'll have the home and homes. Auburn played Clemson on week 2 when they went up there. So stuff like that. And so we have a lot of those great games as well. So we are going to go ahead and start our Saturday slate today with Virginia and Illinois. This one's kind of interesting because, which I know I say interesting before every game, because if it wasn't interesting, I wouldn't have spent the time to make a graphic on it. But Virginia won their opening game. I don't really know how good they're going to be this year, to be wildly honest with you. They are a favorite today over Illinois, who has had a weird start to the season. Is that correct to say? So Illinois plays week 0. They play Scottsfrost, Nebraska at home. Brett Bielema's first home game. And it just did not go. Like, Illinois won. Everyone's like, oh my God, Nebraska sucks. Well, Brett Bielema's getting it going. And then Illinois comes home and loses to an FCS opponent last week. So it's kind of like, what in the world? I don't know what to think of this game, to be wildly honest with you. But we'll make our pick later. But I just think it's interesting. Virginia is a 10.5-point favorite. And we'll see. Our next game is Oklahoma State and Tulsa. Oklahoma State had a so-so year last year. They had some higher expectations with, but they didn't live up to it. It was also COVID year, so do we blame them? I don't know. This is only actually Oklahoma State and Tulsa. You think they're like, oh, they're pretty close. Like maybe they play a lot. Actually, like they don't. It's only the 4th time they've ever played, so I think that's kind of interesting. Oklahoma State is a 12.5-point favorite, and we'll see how many points Mike Gundy's squad can pull off in that one. Next up, we have a big game on the big noon game on Fox. That's number 3 Ohio State versus number 12 Oregon. Of course, it says it on the graphic, but this is a rematch of the first ever college football playoff national championship game. The game was in 2015 January, but it was for the 2014 season. It was in AT&T Stadium in Texas. Close at the beginning. It's Marcus Mariota and the Cardell Jones. But the Buckeyes kind of want to ran away with it in the end. So, as we look to this year's game, they were going to play last year, but then that didn't happen because COVID. And I guess, I don't really know what they did, but they're playing this year. I don't know if they'll make up that game that was supposed to be in Eugene. But Ohio State, remember, they played on Thursday night. They beat Minnesota kind of close. A lot of breaks went Minnesota's way. Ohio State was kind of able to overcome it, able to strike fast, which is key. One thing with Oregon and Mario Cristobal is he really wants to play a physical brand of football. He's been known for his offensive line. He's been known, he's going to pound the ball. He wants to physically you out. And Ohio State scores really, really fast. So it should be interesting to see if Oregon can keep. Oregon does not want this game to get into a shootout. Ohio State does. It'll be interesting to see what pace of play happens in this game. Oregon really flirted around with Fresno State last week. They won it all, unlike someone else we're going to talk about in the Pac-12 in a little bit. But at the same time, it's kind of Fresno State could be ranked. They're better than people think, and then they might have been looking ahead to this Ohio State game. But it'll be I don't know. It'll be cool to see, a new adjective, what Oregon comes out and how good they truly are. Last year was kind of weird. I don't think they're very good last year, but they kind of got the benefit of the doubt with COVID. And they got to still play in the Pac-12 championship and win it. So, good for Oregon. And they played in the Fiesta Bowl. Next up, we have Tennessee and Pittsburgh. This is a game that will really start to set the ideas and really start to either rejuvenate the Tennessee fan base over Josh Heupel, or the reverse and really start to spiral people and be like, oh, great, he's going to suck too, because, they've had a bad stretch of coaches now. I don't really know how excited Tennessee fans were for Josh Heupel. I mean, it was a weird timing when they hired him and all, but Tennessee just didn't look very good last week. It's not that it didn't look good. Their quarterback just wasn't very good, and it was just like, I don't know. The quarterback looked awful. No offense to Tennessee. I mean, I couldn't do it, but I was surprised at how not good he was. Anyways, so they play Pittsburgh, and this is a big non-conference matchup. Tennessee has been known to drop games like this in the past. This is a game Tennessee needs to win if they want to make a bowl game. I know Tennessee's fan base has higher expectations than, we just want to make a bowl game, but I think with all the turnover, all the roster turnover, a bowl game is not a bad idea. But in this game specifically, Pittsburgh is a 3-point favorite. This one is in Neyland Stadium, so maybe Tennessee's crowd can help them out a little bit and keep the quarterback in a more, comfortable environment. Next up, we have Florida USF. This one, honestly, isn't like that exciting of a game, but Florida's going to USF, so this will be in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, where the Buccaneers play. The Super Bowl was last year. Fun fact, USF actually came out this week, I read, and said that they are looking into building, well, they're not looking, they're likely going to do it, have a on-campus stadium. Which I think would be better for them because it's kind of weird and they don't really have anyone show up to their games in Raymond James. But Florida will be traveling there, so I'm sure there'll be a big Gator crowd in Tampa. Florida, a lot of teams, Florida and Texas A&M both, kind of flirted around with the teams they were playing. They were able to win and move on, but I mean, surely Florida wasn't looking ahead to this, so I don't know. Kind of interesting. We'll see. I don't think this is going to be a very good game. I mean, Florida's a 28.5-point favorite. USF isn't what it used to be a couple of years ago. Gators should cruise, even though I'm not supposed to be making my picks yet. Next up, we have Colorado and Texas A&M. The Aggies are number 5 in the country. I don't buy it. I don't think they're number 5 in the country. There's not only 4 teams that are better than Texas A&M. I mean, so many of the preseason rankings were based off of last year, which I get, you earned it, but at the same time, it's most teams don't. I mean, some teams pick off where they do last year. It looked like Alabama was doing that, but that's not how it works for everyone. Texas A&M lost a lot of players, so they're probably not going to be as good. I don't know. Whatever. They're number 5 until they lose. And they got a game against Alabama coming up in a week or two. So, we'll wait and see. They play Colorado. And this will be in Boulder. This was the home-and-home series. Colorado is not very good. I don't know if Texas A&M is going to score a whole bunch of points, run up the score on them, simply because their offense isn't really built for that. They're more of that grinded-out, physical offensive line. We're going to run the ball, so they can't really score in a hurry. So this game, score-wise, could be close, but I expect Texas A&M to kind of physically dominate this game. Pac-12 has a big day today between Oregon, Washington, Colorado. Is there anybody else? Utah playing BYU, and then they have an actual Pac-12 matchup in USC and Stanford. It's a big day for the Pac-12. The Pac-12 came out and won some games. They could really kind of assert themselves. Pac-12 has always kind of been known as they're of the Power 5, they're number 5, and it's not that big of a debate. They're on the outside looking into the playoff and other things. Now with the Big 12's whole Texas and Oklahoma leaving, I forgot to mention that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And the whole Big 12's kind of realignment, the whole ordeal. Pac-12 is kind of getting more respected simply because there's now really only 4, of the 5 Power 5s, Big 12, once all the moving happens, will be the lowest. So that kind of helps out the Pac-12 a little bit. They could help that case today with a lot of big games. Will they win this game? No. Alrighty. Next up, we have Iowa and Iowa State. This game is where game day's at. It's not Saturday Night Football, but Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit will be calling it on the afternoon hour. It's at 3:30 on ABC. Here's the deal, everybody. Here is the deal. I'm not a fan of Iowa State. They always get the benefit of the doubt. Everyone's like, oh, look at cute little Iowa State. They've never done anything before. We're just going to rank them 15 because they beat Tulsa. Congratulations. And then they'll go beat Oklahoma State. They're like, oh my God, they're top 10. And then they'll just go play somebody else and get killed. Now, last year they were pretty decent, but I'm just so they beat Northern Iowa by 7 points. It was a touchdown. They nearly lost to Northern Iowa people. Maybe it was a fluke game. I don't want them to win. I'm supposed to be unbiased, reporting on the game. No, we are rooting for Hawkeyes. Patrick Party, officially, we don't like Iowa State. You heard it here first, people. So the Hawkeyes, we'll see how they do. They are not a favorite. The game is at Iowa State. Iowa had that big game against Indiana. They just killed Indiana, and they really moved up in the polls. But let's think about this for a second. They move up big in the polls because they moved up because they won, and it was a big game, and Indiana was ranked, and now they're not. But also, they have a big game against a top 10 team in Iowa State, ranked. We don't believe that, remember. And so it's we could push them up a couple more spots because one of the teams is going to lose, and it's we might as well have a big ranking for the game. That's my theory on that. I still think Iowa's pretty good, and I will be rooting for them today. Next up, we have NC State and Mississippi State. This game will be in Davis Wade in Starkville with all the cowbells. I have a Patrick Party cowbell. I should have brought it out. We'll bring it out for Mississippi State Week. How about that? Sit right here next to my cup, even though my graphic covers it. And this one. I think NC State could be pretty good this year. I think they could surprise people. Will they challenge Clemson? No, they won't challenge Clemson. We all know that. Nobody's challenging Clemson. And this is how you know the ACC sucks so bad. So on my bottom line, last night at 1 in the morning when I was typing it out after a high school football game, shout out to Auburn High, I said, I'm not typing out every single game for each conference. That's what I did last week. I said, I'm going to pick the 3 best games. Some conferences I did more if there were better games. I'm going to do the 3 best games for each conference on this bottom line. I go to the ACC. The game sucked. It was okay, but no one else is ranked other than Clemson. They legit are awful. North Carolina's out of the poll. No, I think they're 23, but they're playing someone bad, and nobody cares about. A lot of teams are just playing bad people, or they're playing each other, and that's not a good game. This is a good game because I respect Mississippi State, even though I don't think it. People are it's going to work out this year. Mike Leach just kind of figured out, work out the kinks. No, all they do is throw the ball. If you can stop the pass, you're going to win the game. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be that good. I don't think Mike Leach, even though I like Mike Leach, and actually I've read a lot of things on Mike Leach about how he's actually, not that I thought he was a bad person before, but he's done a lot for the community. He's very sociable with children, and he goes to the schools and talks to people. I don't know what he talks about, but he's a good guy. Are they going to win games? No. Will they win today? Maybe. I hope they do. They barely beat La Tech at home, or Louisiana Tech, I guess is what we're supposed to call them. They had to come back in the fourth quarter. It was wild. They were down by more than 10. They won. A win's a win. That's what they say. I think NC State could be pretty good this year. This could be a good win for the ACC potentially. This is honestly, it's not the end. I think this is the game of the day. I know there's other games. Oregon, Ohio State's huge. This is my game of the day. Texas, number 15 Texas, Steve Sarkisian, the whole thing, traveling to Arkansas. SEC Nation is there. This is a rematch of the game of the century in 1969. led to Texas's second national championship. Remember, if I'm correct, I believe Jerry Jones was a part of this game in some fashion. I know. Oh my God, what's his name? It'll come to me. Jimmy Johnson was a part of this game. And some other important people. I believe like Richard Nixon like helped organize the game. Like it was something weird with that. Anyways, it's a big game. That was a big game. This is not as big of a game, obviously, but it's not a bad game. Okay, well, it's my game of the day. So, Steve Sarkisian, Texas, they beat, now it's Louisiana. Okay, so I found out, talked to someone this week, and it is not Louisiana Lafayette anymore. They actually, as a university, like, changed their name, had a new logo. They are Louisiana. So that is what we're supposed to call them. Because I guess it makes them sound more official. I think it's same theory. I think it's just to make them sound more important than they really are. No offense. Anyways, we're talking about Texas and Arkansas. Oh, Texas beat them. Pretty good, actually. A lot of people picked that as their trendy upset. No. Texas won. And for Arkansas, they played okay last week. They played Rice. They won. It was kind of closer than I thought it might be, but they won. Sam Pittman had a good year last year. This is a big test for Arkansas. I mean, obviously, this is a future SEC game, which is fascinating. This used to be a rivalry. I just really like... I like this matchup. Maybe it's the colors. I do like the colors. I don't think that's why it's going to be a good football game. I'm rooting for Arkansas so bad in this one. But we'll see. This is a big game for Steve Sarkisian. Really the first big one of his era. Sam Pittman, he played in some big games last year. But this is a big game for both these programs with newer head coaches. Watch this game. I'll be home because the Auburn game's at noon. Watch this game. This is a good game. Also, SEC play kicks off tonight with Missouri and Kentucky. Should we say it's interesting? I mean, it's my word. I even typed out on my iPad. I typed out interesting really big to remind myself not to say it. Kentucky and Missouri. Kentucky can actually throw the ball now, fun fact. The last couple years have really only been passing the ball. And I guess they found out, hey, we have to run and pass the ball to win. Because if you only do one and you're one-dimensional, all you got to do is stop the run and they lose. Or all you got to do is stop the pass at Mississippi State and they lose. So go Kentucky. And they're a favorite in this game. They beat South Florida pretty bad to start their season. So you can imagine what Florida's going to do to them today. Missouri, they run the ball. You want to talk about somebody that runs the ball. This is going to be even though Kentucky throws it now, this game will go pretty fast because they're going to run the ball in Kroger Field. Which, like, Commonwealth Stadium was really cool. And then they just said, no, Kroger Field. Was it worth it? Was it worth it, Kentucky? I don't know. This game's going to be on the SEC Network tonight with the crew. I believe Jordan Rogers is on this crew for the SEC Saturday night game. Hey, it kicks off SEC's play, our first SEC on SEC matchup. So it should be a good game. A big game for the East. I think these teams are two teams in East standings that could compete with each other, like for how high up they get in the East standings. So this is a big game for both these teams. Next up, we have... Whoopsies. Next up, we're going to skip ahead. We're going to go to BYU and Utah. Obviously, this is a rivalry game. I don't really know what else to say about this. It's a rivalry game. There's going to be a lot of emotions. They didn't get to play last year. They didn't get to play. I know that for a fact. BYU actually got to play a whole lot more than Utah last year because Utah was in the Pac-12. And, okay, so Utah was in the Pac-12. Pac-12 was very limited on what they were going to do. because it included a lot of the California schools. And then BYU said, well, we just, they're independent. So they're like, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to make our own schedule. And that's what they did, people. And they got to play a whole game. They had a great season. They won their bowl game. Is this the year Utah has won, 9 in a row against the Cougars? Is this the year at home in Lavelle Edwards Stadium? And I actually got to go and see that stadium this summer. Is this going to be the year that BYU can win it? Can they do it against the Utes of Utah? Utah is ranked. It should be a really good game. Utah is a favorite. Who are we rooting for? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. All I can tell you is watch this game. It's Pac-12 After Dark vibes, but it's a big rivalry game, and it means a lot for the people in Utah, as rivalry games all across the country mean a lot for everyone. But, BYU's had a big week, and this is a perfect time to talk about the Big 12, everybody. Whoa. So this all happened yesterday. Well, it didn't. It was made official yesterday. BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF at Gus Malzahn. Where's my... Oh. Here you go. This one. Are all officially joining the Big 12 2023. Texas and Oklahoma weren't included on the vote, which I love. I think that's hilarious, even though they're still a part of the conference. I mean, I guess they're leaving, and this really doesn't affect them that bad, so I think it's funny. So, big week for BYU. They're joining a conference. They were always smaller, but they're a big brand. They probably could have joined a conference before, but their scheduling's always been weird with, they won't play on Sunday. So, not really for football, but, women's basketball always plays on Sundays. Baseball plays on, softball plays on Sundays. So, but I don't know. They'll work around it. Big 12 needed teams. This will actually get the Big 12 to 12 teams. And these are 4 teams that I think will bring in the most money, are the most respectable around the country, have been in the national storyline within the last... think. Between BYU, they were great last season. UCF, we all remember the national championship against Auburn that they won. Cincinnati, they've been in the conversation constantly. They played in the Peach Bowl. And the last one is Houston. They were big at the beginning of the playoff era. We all remember that is where Tom Herman came from. So, very, very interesting for sure. Should be I think it's going to actually make a pretty good conference. For this game, which that doesn't affect right now, it should be a good game. Next up, we have Michigan and Washington, and ESPN is petty about this game. Why, you might ask? Well, here's why. Because they have this big, matchup plan, the whole thing. Game day was going to go. It's the Mays out, blah, blah, blah. Washington decided this week, last Saturday, we're going to lose to FCS Montana Grizz, the Grizzlies. Washington, number 20 Washington, loses to FCS Montana Grizzlies, Grizzly Bears, 13-7. What in the world, Washington? What in the world, Washington? What in the world? Michigan won. Michigan beat Western Michigan. Congratulations, Michigan. Gold star to Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. But Washington, what in the world? Excuse me. I don't even know what to say. How do you lose? So, they're not ranked. It's not really that big of a game anymore. ESPN's like, well, darn it. We're going to Iowa. We're going to Ames, Iowa. And that's what they did. For this game specifically, excuse me, I have a cold. I apologize. I think Michigan's going to win, even though it's okay, Washington just lost. They're so bad, blah, blah, blah. Michigan by a million, and Michigan is, in fact, favored. I kind of thought Michigan was going to win. It's going to be a big atmosphere. It's a big game for John Jim Harbaugh, even though a lot of the fire of the game was kind of watered down, tapered down, I'm for the Mays out. It should be a good one. It should be a good one. I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. Y'all, I was up till 2 in the morning. Okay, next up we have number 14 USC versus Stanford. I believe this is the first Pac-12 game that we have, like Pac-12 on Pac-12. USC's really good. Stanford lost to Kansas State last week. Stanford sucks. No offense to the trees or the nerds. And I don't feel bad calling them nerds. And here's why. We went to Stanford's campus. All of their shirts say fear the nerds. So it's like, okay, well, if you're going to embrace it, then we get to make fun of you. So they're nerds, they're trees, and they're going to lose today. This game is in the Coliseum, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, in those new nice now chair back seats. And guess what? Trojans are going to win. That's all I have to say. I've made a picks on a lot of these. And then last but not least, the now ranked number 25 Auburn Tigers, led by head coach Brian Harsin, will take on the Alabama State Hornets. Yeah, they're the Hornets. They're not the Yellow Jackets. In Jordan-Hare Stadium. This will be at noon or 11 o'clock, depending on where you live. SEC Network, not the SEC Network streaming plus mess that a lot of people I know had to deal with last week. This is real SEC Network after SEC Nation. So it should be, here's the thing. We're going to go into detail about this game actually right now. So I guess I can just start talking about it. But here's the dealio, people. Reports are in. And oh my gosh, I forget which beat writer it was that came out and said it. I don't know, so I'm not gonna name a name because I don't know which one specifically did it. But reports are in, and when I say reports, it is official. Can confirm the Honeybees are coming to Auburn. The band is coming. They will be performing. Honeybees are back in Jordan-Hare Stadium. As you remember, they came in 2018 when Auburn beat Alabama State 63-9 at the Graphic. Honeybees are back, people. Honeybees are back. If you don't know what the Honeybees are, it's Alabama State's dance line that has a weight minimum. I don't know. You can look it up. They're actually they've won stuff. It's actually pretty cool. They've won all these great awards, and they're renowned. They have a website. It's a big deal to be a Honeybee. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm just straight up shouting it out. It's pretty incredible. They dance better than I do. That's all I can say. No, a lot of people can say that. But there you go. Honeybees are back, people. Let's go ahead and preview this game a little bit more in detail if you think about it. Auburn played, honestly, a great game against Akron. And I apologize, I didn't have a podcast for it. Got busy. And it just didn't happen. So, I'm sorry. There will be one out tomorrow on my birthday. Shout out to me. There will be one out. And it's going to talk about both these games. And then Alabama State. It's going to talk about Alabama State. And then previewing Penn State. Also, I think this is the time to plug and say Patrick Party Pregame next week. Live from Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. So get hype, people. First time we've ever taken Patrick Party Pregame on the road, and it's going to be in Pennsylvania. So I have no idea how I'm going to pack all this mess to come with me, and honestly, it's not that much. But I don't know how I'm going to pack it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So be thinking about me on Friday. And just FYI, now I'm going off on a tangent, but it's okay. Patrick Party Pregame, Happy Valley. I might be live from the hotel room. I could be live from their campus. I have no idea. I've never been to Pennsylvania before. I will be live at some point from 8 to 9 on Saturday on all the platforms you see right now. Where? I have no idea. How? I don't really have much of an idea. But there you go. There you go. We'll see you in Pennsylvania. Happy Valley, here we come for the Auburn-Penn State game. So it should be a lot of fun. It should be a lot of fun. We've never really done it on the road. We've always had this as the backdrop. And maybe we'll be in a hotel room in the Holiday Inn. Or maybe it's Hampton. I don't know. One of the two. All this to say, can Auburn play another clean game against Alabama State? That is the question. They played so clean against Akron. Like, I know people are like, oh my god, it's Akron. They're pitiful. And you know what? Akron was pitiful. Honestly, it was, like, I get, like, Auburn's better than a lot of these teams. Blah, blah, blah. They're a smaller school. Auburn should be better than them. They sucked for small. Like, Auburn's played competition where it's like, okay, they weren't bad. Auburn's just way better than you. No, they, like, suck for themselves. I feel bad for Akron. I do. Like, Akron's pitiful. And that's all I have to say about Akron. All that to say, Auburn played incredibly clean. There were very few penalties. There might have been one penalty the entire game. No lineup penalties, no false starts. Auburn was very efficient with the ball. Hey, Bo Nix looked great. This is the year. This is the year, people. And if you get the reference, you get it. If you don't, just ignore what I said. We'll see. Can they play another clean game? Are they looking ahead or not? I'm a believer in Brian Harsin. Let me tell you, people. I think it's going to be a good game. That's going to do it for our preview. And you know what? It's about that time. I think it's about that time for our picks. I know I was like, Bingham Bex is back. Actually, no, it's not. Because I kind of just rambled on for a really long time about all those games. And I talked about a lot of stuff. So I feel like it works. So before we make our picks, fun fact. I'm going to be making my picks live. So here's the deal with 11 o'clock games. They're annoying and they're hot as mess. But other than that, well, they're pretty comfortable if it's like November. Then it's like 11 o'clock. Now, I do get to come home and enjoy the rest of the games. But I will be doing my picks live from the stadium. Because TBH didn't have a lot of time this week. So it kind of didn't get done. But guess what? Patrick Party picks live from Jordan-Hare Stadium. That meaning the picks won't debut on the show today. I will still make picks on the show. So if you watch the show, guess what? You're going to know who I picked beforehand. Congratulations. I'll make my picks from Section 29 later today. In Jordan-Hare, we'll post them. The whole happy thing. All this to say, it's game day, people. And it's now time for Patrick's Picks Speed Round. But we still have 15 minutes to fill. Here we go. Virginia and Illinois. Well, you know what? I told you I wouldn't watch this game. Well, I surely wouldn't. One, because there's better games on at this time. Unless you have multiple TVs, there's no reason you should care about this game. But I put it on here anyways because, honestly, orange and blue looks really good with my new graphics. So, for that being said, I'm going to have to go with Virginia in this one. Illinois has been a rocky roller coaster. Kind of sums up Brad Bielema. He's no longer the head hog. He's the head fighting Illini. And I don't really know what to say about that. And that's it for that game. Next up, we have Oklahoma State versus Tulsa. Can Mike Gundy's offense continue to pour it on and score? If they can, they'll kill Tulsa. If they can't, they'll win a close one to Tulsa. So I like Oklahoma State in that one. Next up, one of the big games of today on Big Noon Fox. Number 3, Ohio State versus number 12, Oregon. Rematch of that national championship game. Hit the graphic. I don't know. Buckeyes. They can score fast. I question if Oregon can do that. I love physical football. You win football with offensive and defensive lines. That's something I truly do believe. But Ohio State has good offensive and defensive lines, and they can score fast, which makes them a championship contender. Next up, we have Tennessee, Pittsburgh. This is a huge game for Josh Heupel. Like, throw my water at my camera, huge game, which that doesn't make sense. But I'm going to pick Tennessee. It's at home. I'm feeling it. Their quarterback sucks. Maybe he'll do better. Maybe he was scared or something. I don't know. Rocky Top. Smokey, don't let me down. Florida, USF in Tampa. Doesn't matter. USF got killed by Kentucky. So do you really think Florida's going to lose? Gators by way too many. Texas A&M, Colorado in Colorado. Now, I forgot to mention this. This game is in Denver, not Boulder, where the Buffaloes play their games. This one is at Mile High Stadium in Power Field in Denver. Does it matter? Honestly, no. I think Texas A&M wins, but Texas A&M is not the 5th best team in the country. I need like a gavel or something. Next up, one of the games of the day. The Iowas. The Cy-Hawk Trophy is on the line, people. The Cy-Hawk Trophy. That's number 10 Iowa. Iowa State, who I don't like. Remember, Patrick Party, we don't support Iowa State. We don't like them. Shame, shame. With that being said, I'm going to pick Iowa State. You didn't hear it from me. You didn't hear it from me. Okay. NC State. Mississippi State. NC State's actually pretty good. If NC State has cornerbacks and safeties and linebackers, they'll win. I think they do. I don't know what to think of Mississippi State and Mike Leach. I really don't. Patrick Party, game of the day. Texas, Arkansas, number 15 Texas. Huge game for both coaches. Sam Pittman had a team last year, but newer coaches. Huge game for both these programs. I so badly want Arkansas to win this game. It's a future SEC game. This one is in Razorback Stadium. With that being said, I like Texas. Wah. Next up, we have our first SEC on SEC clash. Kentucky, Missouri. A lot of running the ball. We're going to run the ball today, people. And with that, I like Kentucky, even though I like Missouri's uniforms more. Washington, Michigan. Some hype taken off the game. Washington lost to Montana, people. Montana. FCS Montana. Even notice I typed FCS Montana just to make it seem worse. Michigan. Even though, and I know everyone week 1, it's a bad habit for everyone. Oh my God, this team sucks because they lost. I mean, they did lose to Montana, so they suck. But everyone freaks out. Overreactions of week 1. I don't think Washington's that bad. I actually think Michigan's not bad either. Alrighty, next up we have BYU and Utah, a rivalry game. Utah's won the last 9 in a row. Make it 10. Make it 10, people. Even though BYU was good last year, they didn't play last year. Oh my God, I have my screen. I'm really flailing my arms. I'm not vibing with BYU right now. Even though it's in Lavelle Edwards, I like the Utes. 10 in a row, people. Next up, we have USC and Stanford. Stanford lost to Kansas State yesterday. Remember, what's the phrase? Stanford sucks. No offense. They're just not a good team. USC is. It's in Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. No upset alert on this one. Number 14 USC does win. And then Auburn, Alabama State. Auburn wins this game. Feeling the love. How clean is it? No injuries. Pray for no injuries. Praying hands, people. I like Auburn in this one. Don't think it's too close. It shouldn't be close, but frankly, it's just more of a how clean will Auburn play. With that, thank you for joining us today. I know this was not my best show ever. I rambled and could barely talk with my cold. But all that to say, have a great, enjoy your college football Saturday. War Eagle, go Tigers. And thank you for watching here on the Patrick Party Pregame. Remember, next week we'll be live from Happy Valley, Pennsylvania.